7:04 p.m. First item on the agenda is additions and corrections. I do have one that I want to add for the agenda tonight, and that is the timeline for returning to face-to-face meetings of the library board. So I would like to add that under new business. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add for additions or corrections to the agenda? Okay, not hearing any. Our next item is the oath of office for our two new trustees, Jenny and Bonnie. So congratulations again and welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So ordinarily, in normal times, or as my staff likes to refer to it as in the before times, at the board meeting, when the new trustees are seated, we read out the oath of office, and then the agreement to the oath is made with the trustees signing off on the oath, and then that signature is notarized there at the meeting. We do still need to do the signature and the notarization, but what we've been doing in kind of a modified way during the pandemic with the virtual meetings is just reading through the oath of office at the meetings, which are recorded and then posted on the website as a visual record of the meeting, and then setting up a time for the new trustees to then come in and sign later. So for what I'll do for tonight then is just read through the oath. I'll ask you to provide verbal agreement, and then we'll set up a time later when you can stop by when we've got a notary ready. Sound good?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
So for the state of Illinois, for the county of Lake, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of library trustee according to the best of my ability. Bonnie?
Shall I repeat it or simply say I do?
Say, answer in the affirmative.
Answered in the affirmative, yes.
Okay. Jenny?
I do.
Excellent. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will follow up with you then via email to set up a time for you to come in and sign this amazing document.
Great.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And May, of course, in addition to seating new trustees, is our annual meeting of the library board, which means it also is establishing the officers of the board and determining who will be on which committee. Before we need to jump into that, the first officer item that we need to establish is the secretary pro tem, which is the secretary for this meeting. Since being a bit in between here, the secretary for the previous year may be the secretary for the next year or might not. The secretary in the previous year sometimes isn't even still on the board at this point. So always good right away at the start here after we've got our membership squared away, new trustees seated, to determine who will be taking the minutes.
I would be happy to. I have already started.
Thank you, Janie.
I figured you would, but I did not want to assume. So we do need a motion and a second to make Janie the secretary pro tem. So do I have a motion to that effect?
So motioned.
Motion from Matt. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Janie, you are secretary pro tem.
Hey, Janie.
It is a mighty position. Okay, so that takes us up then to the roles of the officers themselves. So these would be the 4 offices that would be filled over the next year through May 1st, this May meeting, up to the May meeting next year in 2022. At which point, at the next annual meeting, they'll be up for discussion again. If the trustees always desire, they can always, come up for consideration. Sometimes that they are, rendered vacant when somebody moves out of the community or leaves the board, but otherwise just once annually. So I would recommend, since we've got the offices and the committee, that we do this as 2 votes, that we go through the process looking at the officers and we approve those with 1 vote, unless there's a contested election for 1 position. And then we look at the committees and handle those with 1 vote as well. That has generally worked well in the past, and I think should work well for this evening as well. So to get us started then, I would ask for discussion and or nominations for the position of president of the board.
I would like to nominate Kathy Meyerhoff.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the nomination of Kathy. Anyone else? Any other nominations there? Pretty straightforward.
Eric, do I need to get all the motions and seconds in on this? Do you think that's?
I think right now what we're doing is the nominating. So I think we don't need to do, I appreciate Matt jumping in, but I think for this, we can just do the nominations, which is just a
Nomination,
1
okay.
person jump in, and then we'll do a motion and a second for the whole slate
Okay.
when
Sounds
we get
good.
to the end. Unless we've got a position where 2 trustees are nominated, in which case we'll do that separate. But usually we do it as a motion. We do the nominations, then a motion and a second for the whole slate and approval. So then nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Janie Jersh.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice president? Oh my. Treasurer. Nominations for the position of treasurer.
I nominate Bill Hayes.
Okay. Any other nominations for treasurer? Okay. Well, nominations for secretary. Janie, you can't hold 2 positions at once.
Crocodile tears.
So, and in this situation, if no one is, there are no nominations on the table, it's also okay to volunteer.
Well, I could nominate Bonnie. What do you think, Bonnie?
The secretary?
Yeah.
Sure, beginning next month. If
Oh,
you
yeah,
could
I'll
fulfill
do-
the
Oh, yeah,
pro temp
Yeah, you
today.
start in June.
Yeah.
I'm doing tonight's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
So-
you're
Yeah.
on.
and I'll
Yeah.
help you out.
Worth noting, Janie's the secretary pro tem for tonight. So whoever is the secretary does not have to take minutes for tonight. So you're off the hook.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bonnie. I
good,
have to
good.
say, I have served as secretary for a few years, as is Janie. It's a great way to really get your feet wet on the board.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I think you'll enjoy it. It's kind of fun.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion or nominations or volunteerism for secretary? Okay. Then we do not have a contested position, so we just have a single slate, which is President Kathy Meyerhoff, Vice President Janie Jerch, Treasurer Bill Hayes, Secretary Bonnie Shaw. So I would look for a motion to approve that slate.
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. Motion from Janie and second from Matt. So since it's a single slate, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Slate carries. Congratulations. When one of the items that the officers are involved in is signatories for the checks. So Bill, Janie, and Kathy, you're already on the register with Lake Forest Bank and Trust. Bonnie will get updated so that we can get you added to that as well. So I will be in touch on that.
Okay.
Okay, that takes us up to our standing committees. So jumping over to my notes here so that I have in front of me the existing current members of the committees. We have first up the Building and Grounds Committee. Existing members of that still on the board from the previous year. That is Janie and Kathy. So usually we've had 3 to 4 on that committee. It is one of the more active committees. So for the committee phase, please do jump in, volunteer, regarding a committee that you think you'd like to get on. Also feel free if there's a committee that you would like to move away from to be involved in something else, feel free to shout that out as well. So Janie, Kathy, would you like to continue as Building and Grounds?
Yes.
Yes.
Any interest in joining in there? Usually we aim for at least 2 to 3 members.
We had a lot of
And
fun.
Eric, I was gonna say, typically it sort of balances out that most of the trustees generally are on about 2 committees. And
Yes.
that kind of works out well for everybody.
Yes.
Sometimes 3. Some are much busier than others. So if you triple up,
Yeah.
A less busy one. But keep in mind that in order to get all the work done, we need to kind of
Yeah.
rely on everybody for at least 2.
Usually what seems to work best is if a trustee is on one of the busier committees and then one of the quieter committees. That seems to be a good balance. And then 2 and sometimes 3 for each trustee.
Yeah, Eric, this is Bonnie. I'll
Mhm.
join the Building and Grounds. It was when I was thinking of, and my husband and I have done a lot of
Okay.
home improvement and building and some ground type things and other
All
stuff in
right.
my career for capital improvements and yeah. So
Great.
Well, Building and Grounds has been usually been the big item on the Building and Grounds plate has been the renovation and the potential expansion of the facilities. So experience with those sort of projects is much welcome. Okay. One that's become a fairly regular ad hoc committee, but isn't presently a regular committee, is the Bylaw and Policy Committee. That had been Cal and John, and with Cal's departure is just John. Cal, bless her heart, with her experience with as an English teacher and teacher of other languages as well, was very good in keeping us on the straight and narrow as far as the verbiage. As director, that's one I think that I found very helpful to have a committee to run policy changes past. So I would be thrilled if we could keep that committee going. Is there anyone that would be interested in joining John on the Bylaw and Policy Committee?
Eric, if you need I can fill in on that. I'd be happy.
Sounds good. I assure you, it's a lot more fun than it sounds. Okay. Finance, we have a full slate of returning members. Current members are Bill Hayes, Kathy Meyerhoff, and Matt Zowdy. So, Bill,
No,
you know, I presume as the treasurer that you would desire
Yes,
to
no,
stay on there. That's
yeah,
customary.
definitely.
Matt, Kathy, any thoughts, feelings staying on there?
I'm committed to staying on.
And I am delighted to have you stay on. You've been a great part of that since joining the board, Matt.
Thank you.
And
I
we can't have
certainly-
up to 4 members on a committee as well. So there is room if somebody else wanted to jump in as well. It's not like it's full up. Can't really go more than 4 on a committee. Otherwise we start getting into, at that point, it just starts becoming a small meeting of the full board. Okay. Sounds like we're probably set with the current membership then on finance. So that would take us up to human resources. The current members on HR are Janie and John. Kathy, I think you weren't an official member on that, but usually joined as a as the ex facto
Yeah.
member with by being board president. Does anyone have any interest in jumping in on the HR?
I'd be interested.
Great.
Excellent. HR can be a really good committee for jumping in and finding out some of the nuts and bolts as far as library staffing and operations. So that's a
Great.
good one.
Thank you.
Okay.
For Bonnie and Jenny, Kathy is always a de facto member of all committees, so.
Yeah.
Throw that out there.
Wonderful.
Okay. The next one up is the Odd Duck Committee, which is the Intergovernmental Committee.
Oh.
The other committees are basically established by law within the library board. The Intergovernmental Committee is actually a joint committee that is made up of representatives from the library board, from the museum board, and a representative from the village. Because it was established not by library bylaw, but by an agreement between those 3 entities when the wood building annex was constructed. Which is why the current existing person on the board is the director. Generally, the library director has been one of the representatives from the library, going back 2 or 3 directors previous to myself. Cal had been the other library representative to that body. Janie, I know you have been in the past. If you have a desire to learn way more than you ever wanted to about the history of some not always well worded and highly convoluted discussions and agreements between the library and our closest neighbors, this could be a good opportunity. For those who are our new trustees here, due to some convoluted documents and other things that are way too topsy-turvy for me to go into details on right now, we've not always sadly been on as good a terms as we would like to be with our neighbors at the museum. We've worked really hard to change that in recent years, but we've still got a lot of mileage that we can build up there. So this continues to be a really good outreach opportunity and opportunity for improved engagement with another entity in the community. Anyone care to jump in?
I'd be happy to do it again, Eric. This is, what is it, like a once a year meeting? I mean, it's
A
hardly
couple
ever
times a year. We're trying to get it to
twice a year.
more than once.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd be happy to do that too.
We were building some momentum, and then as with so many things in life, COVID happened.
It happened, yeah. I
Yeah.
know. And, you know, anybody else who wants to jump in,
Yeah.
more than welcome. I mean, it's a great
This
way to
is,
learn
yeah.
some of the ins and outs of,
And because it's in a meeting that has the library engaging with another entity in the community, it is a good committee to really help frame what the library does in terms of
Actually,
in the community.
as I look at it, since I'm going to be on bylaws, I'm wondering if, or this may have to change the intergovernment career, but two library trustees, if we have a trustee and a director, do we need two library? It says nothing about the library.
No,
director, but so we
two's
have,
enough.
but two representatives of the library.
Two representatives of the library is sufficient.
Yeah.
I usually aim to try and get two trustees to commit to it, just because it makes it easier to get a quorum.
Eric, I'd be
well-
happy to help.
It can be Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Great, thank you.
Sometimes the village, the Bettina can sometimes be hard to get on a schedule, and Kathy McKechnie from the museum can as well. And Janie, I would, as a wearing your other hat as a museum trustee, I would implore if we could get an additional member. For a while now, for whatever reason, there's just been Kathy as the representative for the intergovernmental agreement. And
yeah, I will certainly bring that up. It's interesting lately, Pam has been doing a lot more than Kathy. And so I'm not sure if Kathy is kind of stepping back. I know she's got her first and only grandchild, so that's probably taking up a lot of her attention right now. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but I can certainly find out, and there's certainly plenty of people on the board there who are good at advocating.
I've noticed that Kathy McKechnie's been super busy, and if you could put a bug in there, Kathy McKechnie's is great, but like you said, she's been super busy, and it probably would be helpful if there was an additional museum trustee that was available for that. We were trying at one point to get it.
I can think of a couple right off the top of my head that would be very good in that.
We were trying to get some meetings set for intergovernmental this past fall, and with everything that was going on, and with Bettina and Kathy's limited availability, it was just kind of didn't happen.
You know, that the whole idea of committees and all of that is a lot less formal on the History Museum board than it is with us. So it's kind of like, hey, who can go?
Indeed.
So.
Call for volunteers. Okay. That takes us up, I think, then to our long-range planning committee, which...
Eric, can you scroll up on the list here so everybody can see the committees?
Yes. Sorry, I was simultaneously looking at my notes, so forgot that I hadn't kept that moving there. So that should be in place there. Okay, so our current membership for the long-range plan, we've got John, Bill Hayes, and Matt Zowdy.
I'll continue to sit on that one, Eric.
Likewise.
Okay.
Excellent.
I think we can keep John penciled in for the moment as well. Anyone have any interest in jumping on that?
Would it be too much if I did that too?
I don't think so.
That-
I think
was
that
that
should
Jenny?
be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Jenny.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because
Not, I mean, no, it
intergovernment,
wouldn't be too much. I think that, yeah, we could put Jenny on there, absolutely. Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Great.
Sounds good.
Jenny, intergovernmental would not, I don't think would meet more than twice a year, and they're,
Oh,
No.
okay,
yeah.
perfect.
No, that only meets regularly when something has gone very sideways with us in the museum, and there isn't anything that fits that bill right now. So
Oh, perfect.
that'll be a small number of meetings. That takes us up to outreach, which is currently populated only by Janie. So we should probably get Janie some company.
Outreach?
You've got
On outreach.
technology.
You're looking at
I thought we were on
technology.
tech.
Yep,
Here.
run outreach, and then
Oh,
do we not
okay.
have?
Outreach is
Oh,
not
you know
on.
what? You know what? I have it listed as outreach in my notes, but we changed it to community engagement in the bylaws.
Hmm.
But then Cal in particular had, but I suppose that doesn't matter as much now. Cal hated the community engagement label, so she insisted that I refer to it as outreach. Can you do that? So community engagement / outreach,
And who is
which
on
is
that
just
committee?
Janie. Just Janie.
Oh,
So Janie needs company.
Janie maybe needs to get off of a committee.
yeah.
Probably.
That would be my fourth.
Well, and Eric, if you guys are good on long range, I could join community engagement whichever works best. If you have 3 members already on the other one.
That would be good.
Okay, so Jenny.
There's
you
a lot
wanna-
of
you wanna be
overlap there.
On community engagement outreach instead of LRP?
Well, whichever one you guys, I mean, it sounds like Janie, that you're ready it sounds like that one doesn't have anybody on it right now. So maybe
Yeah.
since long range has 4 people, I'd be 4. Maybe
Okay.
I'd just switch to community
Mhm.
engagement.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
So this is getting a little ahead, but I'm interested in joining technology. That's why you haven't heard from me
Okay.
in a little while.
Okay.
Just so as you're kind of moving the pieces around.
Good.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. I think we're pretty close to a full slate here. Just need.
maybe one more person on tech and one more person on outreach.
Well,
Technology.
Bill,
We've
are
got
you on
Matt.
technology?
We've got Matt and Bill currently on
Oh, okay.
technology.
Okay,
And I
great.
think Matt and Bill are pretty committed there. So adding Bonnie, I think we're
That's
set for
great.
technology.
Excellent.
And then we just need one more person for outreach.
Did you say earlier, Eric, that John was on that committee as well or not?
Janie was the only one on outreach,
Okay.
but she's already booked for
Well,
3 other committees.
what?
So
I can stay on this one on the outreach. Because the IG is not a biggie. And I'm not gonna be doing minutes anymore.
Mhm.
Okay, well, what about,
That's true.
so let's go back to finance. You got Bill, Matt, and I
you.
kind of sit in on that, but I don't have to be a formal member of that committee. Did we add someone to
Okay.
finance?
we did not.
So that's 3. Okay, so Bill,
Mhm.
Matt, and myself.
Yep.
And then,
Yep.
and I'm on building and grounds.
Mhm.
So the only,
And bylaws.
yeah, okay, and
Mhm.
Kathy for John. All right, so the only thing that we're short, well,
We've got. Would you like me to go through and read who we've got for which committees so far?
yeah, because my notes are good.
Okay.
I've got outreach
Okay.
and community engagement. Those are the same
Okay.
thing, right?
Starting at the top.
Okay,
For building and grounds, I've got Janie, Kathy, and Bonnie. For bylaw and policy, I've got John and Kathy. Sliding in the community engagement, where it's supposed to be alphabetically, I've got Jenny and Janie.
And is that also what we were calling outreach?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so there's only one committee and that is community engagement.
yes. For
And the
finance,
bylaws committee could change it back to outreach.
yeah,
But why
bylaw
doesn't the
committee could change it
committee-
back.
Why doesn't the committee make a recommendation to the board after they meet?
Sounds good. Janie, you froze there.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, did I? Sorry, can you hear me now?
Can
Yeah.
hear you now.
Okay.
Finance is Bill, Kathy, and Matt. HR, I have Janie, John, and Jenny Graziano. Intergovernmental is myself, and then Janie and Jenny. Long range plan is John, Bill, and Matt. Outreach is Janie and Jenny. Technology is Matt, Bill, and Bonnie. So that's what I've got penciled in here as what we've agreed to thus far. Thoughts, questions, comments? I think this lineup fills all the roles here as far as filling up all the committees. And don't worry about remembering it. I will send it out by email
And
so
Eric,
that we've got
excuse me.
everybody's got a written copy. Yes.
I don't know if you're going to get into this. If not, I'll jump on it now. For everyone's background, what we as a board would like to do is have each committee meet. I think we
Mhm.
could set a deadline of like maybe June 15th. So if each of the committees
Yeah.
could meet at that time, and if each committee could choose a chairperson and set its goals for the year. Eric typically attends committee meetings, so he'll be there for that goal setting. That will allow Eric to then consolidate the goals of all the committees and present them to the board, if not in June, in July. And then we're all kind of running on the same tune here in terms of where we're going as a library and what we need and so forth. And we can fine tune them as we hear from one committee or another. But if you could keep that in mind, kind of those times. And I think actually all this comes from the bylaws. So if there's a committee name change, that recommendation probably should come from the committee, and then the bylaws committee can fix that for us. So we can talk about all those things in June or later by July. And the only other thing I'd say as far as trustee engagement is just about every month, Eric has a list of upcoming meetings of the Friends of the Library. The Friends meet infrequently now, but they meet on Saturday mornings usually. And they're probably doing it by Zoom still. But we have always tried to commit one trustee to a Friends meeting. It's been more difficult to do that, obviously, during COVID, but we certainly would like to get back into that. And I think it's as a trustee, it was actually a great way to learn more about the library community and to see the involvement of the Friends, which is quite extraordinary. And get to know them so that they know you and you know them. So that's something that Eric will keep us appraised of. So it's always kind of, looking ahead, you know your calendar, when you're busy, and if you can just commit to, it's kind of like a meeting and a half a year sort of thing. And actually, that's when they met once a month, and they don't seem to do that right now. So we don't know. Anyway, what's that?
Kathy,
Okay.
Kathy and Eric, can I ask you something? Is there
Absolutely. Fire away.
Great. Is there any way to look at the meeting notes from the committee from the past year so we can take a look at what their goals were and kind of what's been happening on the committee since, I haven't been attending all of the meetings, so I think it would be helpful if there's any way to take, especially for the new people, to take a look at. I'd love that.
Is it the archive on the site?
Yep.
Oh,
They're archived on the website. So if you go to the board page, there's a link from the Board of Trustees page on the website that goes to all of the agendas and minutes.
Great.
And that should give you a few years back. I believe we're still working on getting everything ported over, but at least the last 2 years worth of meetings minutes will be up there.
Perfect.
And Eric, is the long-term plan on that? on the website?
Long range planning notes.
No,
Or the long range
The
actual
plan
plan
itself.
itself, yeah.
The long range plan itself is, yeah, that should be on the website.
Okay.
Should be there. If it isn't already, we should get it there. That's something we always have up there. Yeah, if you go to the let's see, the FOIA and OMA under the About Us and the Financial, Legal, and Other Information tabs,
Mhm.
there's lots of policy and information documents posted there. We try and be as transparent as we possibly can be. So I'm gonna share over to that actually really quickly. So that's on the website, and then under the About Us tab, and then the Financial and Legal. So it's got all of our audit reports, budgets, mission and value statements, all of our policies. Not seeing the most recent long range plan, but we'll get that up there. And then under the Board of Trustees, if you click over to that under the About Us, then the link is right here for the meeting archive.
Oh, okay.
And that will let you select the meeting of your choice. And then you can go back, and if you so desire, the ones over the past year are even video recorded. So you can have hours of thrilling meeting events to look through there.
You cancel your Netflix.
There you go.
You don't have to pay either.
That's right, that's right.
Let's see. You know, actually, it looks like Martha's been busy. It's all the way back to 2012 now on the minutes. So there's plenty there.
Great.
Okay.
Eric,
Back
how do you
over to
work
our
with all
agenda
those
here.
tabs open?
You know, I used to give Martha a lot of a hard time because she always had 1,000 tabs open, and then I've gotten just as bad. You know, the problem is I leave them open and I figure I'm going to hop back to it, and a lot of them I do hop back and forth with, but then I get to a certain point where I just lose all track of things, and there's stuff there that is just I flat out don't need. It's a problem. I'm working on it.
Need an
Okay.
intervention.
So getting to the end of the committees, Kathy, thank you for jumping in. As Kathy noted, I will be contacting everybody on a follow-up to set up the initial meetings of the committees, you know, organizing and setting committee chairs, et cetera. And we'll do that before June 15th. For finalizing the committee membership, I would look for a motion for the slate that I had read through a moment ago. I can read through it again if you'd like. Otherwise, I would look for a motion to approve that as the committee membership to start the fiscal year.
I so move.
I have a motion from Janie. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries and membership is set. Okay, so we are now officially organized for the next fiscal year.
Hey.
Wonderful and exciting. Looking forward to working with everyone on the year ahead. And then our first bit of regular business as we dig into the meeting is the approval of the meeting minutes from the April 20th.
You skipped 6, Eric.
Did I? Oh, yes. Our members of the public. Are any of the members of the public that we have here tonight interested in addressing the board?
I am not. I have nothing to say.
Just here for the company.
And good company it is.
Yes.
Okay. And I will actually, for our new trustees, take a moment here to introduce our staff that we have present,
Good.
just to make sure that we're all introduced. We have with us tonight Katie Horner, who is our head of circulation and reference. Martha O'Hara. Let me change your name here. It currently says your youth services, Martha.
No, I am.
Who is our head of adult services. And Eliza Jarvie, who is our head of youth services. Jillian Chapman, who is our community outreach and engagement person. And we have Anna Pfeifhaus, who is our recently promoted head of adult programming. So we often have full-time staff that will join us at the meetings and will contribute at various points through in sometimes doing presentations and providing additional information. So, and I do encourage their attendance. I often find that having the additional perspective as far as what the board is discussing and you know, how the decisions are made can be very helpful to our full-time staff members. So, and we have a fantastic staff. We really do. Can't say enough. So that's everyone here, and they contributed and yet they did not. So that will take us through item number 6 and up to the minutes of the meeting on April 20th. And this is, scrolling back down, probably not a big point, but okay. No, actually they are on there. For some reason I had, on 5A, we could probably drop the perspective on trustees elect. I think that probably got carried over. I saw the perspective and I missed the trustees elect portion, but I think just the trustees elect for Bonnie and Jenny.
Okay.
Since they were most thoroughly and fully elected at that point.
Gotcha.
Any other notes, comments on the minutes? Otherwise, I would look for a motion to approve.
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Motion from Kathy and second from Bill. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. And that will take us up to the finances. So, all right. The financial reports for the end of April give us our first look, though not a final look, at the end of the fiscal year and where the budget will be at the end of that fiscal year. It's not the final balance. There are additional invoices that always drift in through May and June. Additionally, the auditors always seem to, when they start their process in June and July, end up, before they finalize things in September and October, shift a few invoices between the two fiscal years, either forward into the new fiscal year or backward into the previous one. So this isn't final yet, but it's it's ballpark for where we have ended the fiscal year. So looking at what we've got, as expected, we did end, you know, as we discussed last month, about 4,900 short on the property tax revenue. You know, all things considered, the year that we've had, I would have preferred that if we could have been right on top of the mark for what we had levied, but I will take that as a shortfall coming out of the last fiscal year. So I would also point out that this should be the last month that we will show zero revenue for the passport fees. That service has restarted again. We had really had that rolling before COVID hit and really made holding a service that was that interpersonal impossible. And even if we could have been holding it, the State Department effectively shut down except for emergency passports for 6 to 9 months. So there wasn't really any point of mailing anything in. But that is going and should be, fingers crossed, contributing significant revenue as well as being a much appreciated service for the community, again, going forward. You know, still to be received is the village contribution. You can see that last year that amount was 9,183. They have a formula that they work with, so that will probably be in the neighborhood of about $100 more when it is deposited for this year. So that is still to be received. Invariably, that gets added as part of the process of the auditors closing out the books. So it will be added later to the balance sheet for this month of April. So on top of the numbers that we have here, we can expect that we will still be adding about 9,250 or so dollars for the village contribution. We do have another one that did not get added to the register, and actually I had some back and forth on this today with Bettina and the folks at the Lauterbach finance firm that is working with the village at present, since the other person in the two-person team, Marlene Scheibel, had left this past fall. They've been filling in with the village and helping out. And short answer is that they forgot to journalize our entry for this month for medical insurance, as they usually do. So that didn't end up being tallied in there. So that's a $9,000 charge that should have been in there but isn't. So that kind of balances things out as far as the revenue that should be in there but isn't. Also still need to be included is the final $6,000 payment. That is the new member fee that we've been paying each year for the last 3 years since joining the North Shore Employee Benefit Co-op to broaden the number of entities that we were working with when we go out to bid for our medical insurance policies. So we joined that, and that's been helpful as far as controlling the benefits, but because we were the new group joining, we needed to pay in extra the first few years. But this is the last year that we'll need to do that. That was another item that I had followed up on since I noted its absence, and Bettina is working to get that added as well, since it seems that they had forgot to bill us. Always a curious event when somebody forgets to bill you, but we want to be good members, as well as, you know, they would just bill us later. So it's not like we would be dodging anything. So looking at all of that, what do we have? As far as our first look at the end of the fiscal year, scrolling down to the bottom line, we have, looking at on page 6 here, the final numbers, we have $1,024,042 in revenue that we've received, and $9,610 in expenses. Assuming that the 2 medical expenses get journalized as they should, and that the village contribution gets made, which it will, the net result is that we stand with $52,000, give or take, greater revenue than expenses. So that would be the amount that we are looking at as it currently stands at a rough initial glance to be adding to the general reserve. That would make for a projected general reserve in the neighborhood of $375,000. So that would represent about 35% of operating expenses for our new trustees. The board aims to have between 35 and 50%, with 50% generally considered to be the sweet spot. 25, sorry, misspoke, 25 to 50% is where we aim to be. And right now we're at 35 is where we're projected to be.
And what was our projected estimate for this number for this year?
What had we projected to put into
Yeah.
reserve? We were projected to put at minimum 20,000, and we had hoped to put at least 25 to 30 by gaining some efficiencies through the budget. We've been very careful and very conservative in using our budget this past fiscal year because there's been so many unknowns.
That's good.
Eric, what was that figure again? Because on the balance sheet, it says 59,431. But
Yep.
you took
So-
some money out of that because of something that we didn't get billed for. So what do
Correct.
you think
So
that figure?
the number
right
that
there
they've got on the sheet here is the 1024 and
Right.
the 964. It's not going to let me highlight that way, which lead up to the 59.
Right.
So we have three charges that are definitely going to be added to this. We have adding about $9,000, $9,250. That is going to be the village contribution. That's
Right.
part of the intergovernmental agreement to cover expenses related to the wood building annex that we receive from them every year.
Gotcha.
Then there's an almost exact amount that still needs to be subtracted,
Right.
9,000, let's see here, 9,200 and some, almost exactly the same amount for medical insurance costs that needs to be journalized.
Right.
So that's an amount that we pay every month, and for whatever reason, our friends working with the village at present just forgot to add that in on the account books, but
Clerical error.
it'll be added in. So those two kind of balance each other out. But then there's the third charge, which is that we still need to pay the additional $6,000 to the NSEBC folks.
Okay.
So
So that leaves
basically
us
what
about,
it, yeah.
that
So
leaves us
basically
about
those three,
53.
Yeah. So those three basically even out to take the 59, subtract 6,000. And conservatively expecting that there will be at least a few more that show up as invoices that show up as well. 52 to 53,000 will be what we would be looking to add in.
And that's going to take the reserves to
375.
35% of our operating costs. Is that correct?
375,000, which is 35% of our projected operating expenses for next year.
Well, Eric, congratulations. That's quite a,
That's really remarkable.
yeah. And that share that congratulations with your staff and with Bill, because you guys all worked hard, very hard all year, holding a lot of uncertainty together. And Jenny and Bonnie and Matt, a goal that the board had set was to recover the cost. We spent $250,000 on the roof about 2.5 years ago, which really diminished our reserves. And the board for the last 10 years or so has been very cautious in taking care of the reserves, building them, and then using them accordingly. So we set a high goal to replenish those reserves, and we're, under Eric's leadership, we're doing a great job. And this year in particular was pretty tricky, and we bought some computers and we finished up our new website and all that kind of stuff. So good job. I mean, we finance people have to sit down and talk about the future, and but kudos to everybody for a great year.
I will pass that along.
Thank you.
So that wraps up what I have as far as the financial reports for the month of May. I would look for a motion to approve unless we have other questions. In which case, if you've got questions, fire away. Hearing no questions, do I have a motion?
Also motion.
Motion from Matt. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. And because it's finance, we'll do a roll call vote. Okay, Trustee Church,
Aye.
Trustee Meyerhoff,
Aye.
Trustee Schall,
Aye.
Trustee Hayes,
Aye.
Trustee Zowdy,
Aye.
Trustee Graziano.
Aye.
Okay. And John is not with us. That should be everyone. So motion carries unanimously. All right, and that takes us up to the checks. So I have just a couple checks to draw attention to. And whoops, got lost in my document here. And then we will head on to new business. There's not a lot to draw attention to in terms of the checks, because usually we are very careful in what we spend money on in April, aiming for a good soft landing in the new fiscal year and being able to provide maximum clarity to our friends, the auditors, who tend not to like things that arrive right at the as the fiscal year is moving from one to another. We don't spend a lot in April. So first item that I want to draw attention to is on the second page of the checks, and that is down towards the bottom. And it is the additional charge that we have here, the $2,790 to our friends at Crystal Maintenance Service. That is for the deep cleaning, the special once-a-year cleaning that we did this past year, this past month, when we came in and did a variety of cleaning that it just isn't practical to do every month, such as cleaning cobwebs out of the rafters, and some things that it just isn't necessary to do every month, such as waxing the floor. So if you have not been down in the youth services in the past couple weeks, I encourage you to take a look. The floors are beautiful.
Very shiny.
Very shiny. So I know Eliza is absolutely thrilled about that. And the carpeting is also that very special clean carpeting that you only get after things have been cleaned when the salt has been removed after the winter. So the other one that I want to draw attention to is also here, another one on the second page, which is the new dark web service that we're receiving from ComputerView. Most of this charge is just the initial setup charge. This is broken out as a separate line, but it's actually part of the standard service package that we're receiving now from CVI. So it's a built-in thing rather than a new thing that we've opted to get. But basically, it's a series of reports that they run that let us know when services, utilities, et cetera, that we have access to subscriptions with have been hacked, when data has been compromised, so that we can then go in and change user information and be able to protect ourselves from having our information stolen. So that is a useful new service that we have access to there.
What a commentary on life today, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
That
Yeah.
is just scary. I look at dark web and just,
Yeah.
it's one of those things you've got to keep an eye on. And then the last check that I will draw attention to is the SpringShare patron and staff software. This is a subscription that we started last year and has quickly become our solution to virtually everything and anything. It is the module that we use to maintain all of our statistics reporting. It manages our booking for both the curbside service as well as passport registration. We're going to be setting it up to handle our booking of the meeting rooms going forward, and just a ton of other things that I am probably forgetting. It also does the calendar that we're now using to keep track of trustee meetings and engagements as well. So that is an incredibly useful piece of software that we are fortunate to be able to continue to make use of.
Eric,
So
there was one other check there just on periodicals.
Fire away.
Is that an annual one? That's page 3 of 6.
Page 3
Either
of
40
6.
4708.
The EBSCO, yes, that's an annual.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, that's that one there. Yeah, that's an annual charge. Most, but not all, of our periodical subscriptions are handled through that EBSCO subscription service. So rather than Jen, who is our periodical collection manager, rather than her having to go through and, renew all 120, I think about in the neighborhood of 105, 110 of those, a majority are handled through that one subscription service. And then there's just a few big ones like our subscription to the New York Times, to the Chicago Tribune, that are handled separately, as well as some of our professional periodicals like Book List and Library Journal.
So when I walk in and look at all the different magazines that are on that display case, are those all bundled under this fee?
Most of them.
And did
so
we cancel that or hold it in advance during the pandemic? And were we getting periodicals?
We continue to get periodicals because we do circulate those, and we do make a point for the magazines of keeping a few years worth of those as back issues. The ones that we put a hold on were the ones that we don't archive more than a few days of, which were the newspapers. We put a hold on our subscriptions with those and stop those altogether. The magazines as well, we do actually have, for some of the subscriptions, some patrons who are very enthusiastic about checking those out, and folks actually queued up pretty quickly to start checking those out again when we resumed curbside service. But the service with EBSCO is very convenient. Basically, it's an interface where you go in, select the subscriptions that you want to go with, and then you can bill just once through EBSCO rather than having to do it all individually through all the separate vendors. Okay, good question. Other check questions? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve. And before we jump in, let me give you the range of check numbers. They are check number 14,734, and then 14,736 to 14,775. Do I have a motion to approve those checks?
All motion. Okay, Kathy.
Go ahead, Matt. Fine.
Kathy moves. Would one of you like to second?
Second.
Matt seconds. And it is another finance vote, so it'll be a roll call. So we will jump in and do that. Trustee Church,
Aye.
Trustee Meyerhoff,
Aye.
Trustee Shaw,
Aye.
Trustee Hayes,
Aye.
Trustee Zewde,
Aye.
Trustee Graziano.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And that will take us up to our items of, well, it'll take us up to our committee reports, though we have not had any committees that have met. And as mentioned, the committees will all be meeting over the next month, so we will go from not really having anything to report committee-wise this month to having a lot to discuss next month. Is there anything on the existing committees that anyone would look to chime in and share? Otherwise, I will move us on to new business.
Eric, I do have one question. Since you want us all to meet by June 15th, do you want to try and set up those?
I will set up
committee
those
meetings,
meetings.
Or should you're going to set them up and put out?
We don't have committee chairs yet, so
Yeah,
I
okay.
will tackle getting those set up.
Great, thank you.
Eric, just from my perspective, in terms with the technology committee being new, if we want to schedule a meeting, what sort of protocol do I have to go through for that?
Usually I will, as soon as I hear that a committee meeting is needed, I'll send out a doodle poll and then see what, from that poll, see what times and dates would work.
Okay, so I would just
And
come to
then-
you and ask.
Yep. So let me know in short when you would like to have a meeting, when you think we should get one set, and I will handle getting one scheduled, basically sorting out everybody's availability and then getting the agenda posted.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would, let me speak up here on this. There's going to be a lot of, since you're all on at least 2 committees, you're going to get a lot of emails from Eric
Mhm.
trying to get these things scheduled. And the sooner you respond to those, the sooner he can get back to you and say, you know, this is when the committee's happening. Otherwise, you're going to find your calendar with a lot of question marks waiting for responses. So the sooner you can get back to him, the sooner everybody can get their June calendar set up, because it
Yep.
will be busy, and then it'll quiet down considerably.
Okay. That was a good question, Matt. All right. Any other questions, comments on committees? Otherwise, we'll move on to new business. Okay. The items that we have for new business, the 2 that we have are fairly straightforward, are more in the way of housekeeping motions that we need to make each year and that we always handle at about this time in either May or June. The first item is the resolution adopting a prevailing wage. So, for Illinois state law, all public bodies, including public libraries, are required to pay a prevailing wage to all contractors that we hire. Each county is required to run calculations to establish a list of prevailing wages for a wide range of professionals. And then the county then makes that chart available to all the public bodies in the county, and then all the public bodies are required to pay that local prevailing wage. The law also requires that all public bodies annually affirm that they are going to adhere to the prevailing wage law, and then publish.
Eric, you froze.
Yeah.
He was doing so well.
He was. Well, maybe I can continue here, because what we've done this year after year, the prevailing wage rate is that whatever the wage is, the library has to pay for services. And it has to be agreed that the board, this is a board policy of the board of the library. So we can go ahead, if there's any discussion, and then we can go ahead and vote on this while Eric is rebooting himself. So oops, there you go. And we've met. I don't know where Eric just went, but is there any discussion about the prevailing wage recommendation? Especially from our new
Nope.
people. Without any discussion, do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
And do we have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we have enthusiastic seconds from Bonnie and from Bill. And do we have a vote of aye to approve?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Kathy,
Um,
just a quick note. Does it have to be a roll call vote because it has to do with,
No,
finances?
good question, Bonnie. Good question, Bonnie. If we were approving a contract for X number of dollars to a particular contractor, yes, because we're actually spending taxpayer dollars. But this is just a policy of the
Mhm.
board
Got it.
that
Yeah.
we agree to. But great question. Thank you.
okay, got it.
I'm back.
Yay.
I am sorry. I don't know what happened there.
Eric-
Where did I
Eric,
cut
we
off?
went ahead and improved your fair wage, so you can move on.
Oh, good. Um, Long and short of the prevailing wages that we're required to do it, and we're required to publish the notice, even though the notice has absolutely no bearing on our requirement to do it.
Well, it's done.
So on we go. Another item that, let me share back over here. When we get to our non-resident. And Janie, I'll print that one out so that you can sign that.
Okay.
Okay. Another item that we're required to annually affirm is our participation in the non-resident card program. So for our new trustees, non-resident cards are the ones that are issued to residents of unincorporated Lake Bluff. The boundaries for the Lake Bluff Public Library match those of the Village of Lake Bluff because we're a municipal library. There are a number of district libraries in the area. Those include a lot of different areas from a lot of different communities, as well as some unincorporated areas. But a lot of unincorporated areas in Lake County don't pay taxes to any library. So patrons, individuals living in those areas still can get library service, but they are required by Illinois state law in a process too convoluted for words to go to their closest geographical library and pay a tax equivalent fee each year. We are not required to issue non-resident cards, and so we have to affirm that we're going to continue to do that each year. It is very much to our benefit to do that. We have a significant unincorporated area right next to us, which is Knollwood. Most of Knollwood does not pay taxes to support any public library. We also have some smaller unincorporated areas to the north of Lake Bluff. In the Shore Acres neighborhood. There's some significant patches there that are also unincorporated. Additionally, from the Lake Bluff Library's perspective, we are able to do some really good things with some of our recent partnerships with the school district, where we have an intergovernmental agreement where the school district has agreed to cover non-resident cards for all of these students who live in unincorporated Lake Bluff, but also attend the schools, so that they, regardless of what their family might decide to do in terms of getting library access, so that all those kids will definitely have library access. That has been a great good thing and has helped us overcome a lot of obstacles in terms of working with the schools. So there's a lot to the non-resident card program that's to our benefit. That's generally what it is. The information provided here is how we handle locally the non-resident cards as provided in state law. So any questions on our non-resident card program? Otherwise, I would look for a motion to approve.
yeah, two questions, Eric. One, just for my own edification. So those students who are covered by the school,
Mhm.
Is the student issued a card or is that a family card?
The student is issued a card.
Okay.
Going into the Wayback Machine, about 20, 25 years ago, there used to be another student card program that was in place that was much more laissez-faire and ended up getting widely abused. And unfortunately, as often happens with such things, then that program went away and there was no agreement for many years. So we've made a point of being very conscientious and setting boundaries with families on this go round. So it goes to the student, and we try to be very cognizant of any sign that it is being used for anything other than the student's use.
Got it. You look a little old for middle school, huh? The other question I have for you,
We've
first
had
sentence-
parents that have tried, and
Oh, I believe it.
we're always very clear with folks when that comes up. Yeah. Second question.
Given what you said, what we're stating here, is the first sentence of the third paragraph correct? Should that be unincorporated Lake Bluff? Lake Public Library will provide the services non-residents owning property in unincorporated or incorporated? Because if I'm incorporated, I'm paying taxes, right?
Yes. One facet of the legal code governing library service to unincorporated individuals is specifically covers residents who live in an unincorporated area, but they also own property in incorporated. So this would be someone who, say,
lives in Knollwood and owns the bike shop.
Yes, exactly. Or some other facilities. So there's provisions there that cover that instance as well.
Clear.
So then the subsequent paragraphs dig into more typical situations where it's somebody that just has a home or is a renter in an unincorporated area.
Okay, thank you. I didn't read far enough. Thank you.
If I could just interrupt for a second, Eric, I know you're going to go to a vote, but for a little background, for those of you who don't know, I used to teach at the middle school. Janie taught at the high school. We both ran into kids who, a teacher might say, let's everybody go to the library and check out a book on a president or write a biography report, thinking it's a great thing because it gets kids into the library without realizing that some children don't have access to the library because of whatever, because of where they live and their family situation. So the state code actually changed a few years ago that allowed us to extend these services really through the facilitation of a former school superintendent, Dr. Jean Sophie, to whom this improvement meant a lot. And I think it's a really good thing for the schools, for the kids, for the teachers, for the library. So I'm really happy that this happened. And it's a little bit of actually income to the school. We've had members of the community question, the condition of materials checked out under these circumstances. And, I've never heard moments concern about damages or non-return of items. It's just a real win-win situation in the community. And I'm really proud that we've done this. And I think it speaks really well for the sort of the early stages of outreach committee that went to the schools and said, how can we help? And we got this going. It just worked out really well.
Yeah.
Can I pop in too with just an additional 2 cents?
Sure.
Which is that having this program has actually allowed us to make better inroads with our relationship with the schools. And this last year, we actually incorporated our ebook collection into the school ebook collection, something that I don't think would have been possible without this in place.
Great.
Yeah, that's been a good thing. So basically, to summarize that, the kids at the school are now able to, with one login with their student ID, they get full access to all of the ebooks that are available through the school's collection and then the library's collection. It's great.
Though I would throw in that the school uses a different app. It's called Sora, and that app does have age filters on it, so they do not have access to mature content, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Bonnie. Sounds like a win-win all around. I'm just curious, how many cards do we actually, or non-resident cards are actually issued each year?
The number of non-resident cards, meaning the ones that aren't issued through the, that are strictly non-resident, so they're families that come in and pay the tax equivalent fee. I believe we usually have in the neighborhood of about 250 of those that are active in any given year. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, we probably have about a similar amount of school cards that we issue in a given year as well. That
I'm
250
just-
sounds about ballpark. Katie, do you have a more accurate number there?
I don't know that I have a more accurate number. I was going to guess in the ballpark of 250, maybe into the 300s. A couple of points of note for the cards that we create for the students. The cards are created, but the students have to pick them up. So while we create a lot of cards, it's a smaller percentage of the cards that actually do get picked up. But we continue to update and create the cards at the beginning of every school year for kids to pick them up if they so choose. I will also say that based on Martha's information, because she was the one in charge of updating these cards before I came on board, and just based on my own knowledge from the last couple of years, the number of students who are eligible to participate in that program is increasing drastically from year to year. So we are definitely seeing an increase in the number of eligible students.
Last I heard from Martha, and this was pre-2020, we had managed to access, I believe it was somewhere over 80% of students in unincorporated areas had either the district card or a non-resident card.
Yes, we do have a fair number of students whose families have already opted into the regular non-resident card program. But yes, it's a good number of students we've been able to reach through this.
I'll also add that prior to that program, I believe it was 19% of eligible students had library access. So it's a tremendous increase.
In summary, the staff likes this.
Well, the board likes it too, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one of those things you sometimes you go to a few meetings and you wonder, could I be somewhere else? This is an effort and an initiative through everybody that just worked out, and I'm very proud of it. And I think I'm very proud of the staff, and I know the school district is delighted with it. So it's been a real treat to do this.
Yeah, and very happy to report as well that Dr. Lisa Lieli, who's been the new superintendent, has been very keen to carry the program forward as well. She's a believer in that collaboration as well, which is great. So that I think takes us up to the looking for a motion on the non-resident card program.
Motion to approve.
And second?
I'll second.
All right, motion from Matt, second from Janie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay. And that is going to take us up to the I'll stop sharing here for a moment because the packet doesn't include any information on this one because it's the added agenda item, the possibility of returning to in-person board meetings. So we are getting to the point with the easing of restrictions that I think that a face-to-face meeting is probably feasible for the June 15th meeting. We're going to be continuing to move furniture out of our meeting rooms. And I think we'll be to a point where it should be possible to hold a meeting that would and allow trustees to socially distance while doing so. The decision is to moving from a virtual to a physical meeting that could still potentially include a virtual aspect to allow trustees to participate remotely, that's a decision that's up to the trustees. The amendment to the 2020 Open Meetings Act basically formally amended that act to allow virtual meetings to occur without a majority of the quorum physically present, gathered together, when there is a health-related public emergency declaration. And that public emergency declaration is still very much in effect. So if the board would like to continue for the next few months, continue to meet virtually rather than physically, absolutely fine. But I figured, since it does look like we're getting to a place where that would be feasible to do a physical meeting again, that I would raise the subject with the Board of Trustees. So thoughts, questions, feelings?
I'm curious if anybody's strongly opposed, because I am of mixed mind about it. It's convenient to stay at home, but there's also something lost in meetings when we're not together. So I'm just curious what other people feel.
So I'm not necessarily answering that, but adding to it is it possible to continue to have a remote option? Like myself, I'm not in Lake Bluff at the moment. If it weren't for a meeting being held by Zoom, I would not be able to participate. So, I don't know if others have business travel or, other travel that, that the virtual meeting also accommodates a long distance participation, like my own. I think Kathy, you were long distance one of the meetings.
Yes.
So I don't know if that takes like
Bonnie.
Yeah.
What was that, Kathy?
I said that's a great point.
Yeah. So I would like to discuss how we might be able to make that a reality. Preference to be in person when it's safe to do so and we're all comfortable doing so. But I think it's also helpful to always have a dial-in option.
Yeah. And that option is definitely one that we need to continue to have, and should continue to have at the face-to-face meetings going forward.
Right. And I'll just propose another scenario, right? So let's just say 6 months from now, someone's not feeling well. I'd rather they dialed in, someone's not sure. They might have the flu. They might have, so.
Eric, would you like me to speak a bit to what we're looking at for essentially hybrid programming, and essentially the same technology would be for the board meetings?
In terms of the technology that you're looking at as far as potentially acquiring for the Spruce Room?
Essentially how we would make a in-person and Zoom meeting function. I believe that was Bonnie's question. Did I understand correctly?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know how much we need to dig into the details right now. I think that the important question is mostly, can we do it? And we definitely can.
We can. I would say that June 15th might be pushing us a bit to get all of the technology here in the library tested and set up, especially with our busiest quarter starting right now. We're all a little pressed for time.
It would probably be more on the fly and less smooth and seamless than it would be in July in terms of the technology. The face-to-face could definitely happen in June, though.
I'd be interested in returning to meetings in person.
So Bonnie, you would prefer to be, or excuse me, Jenny, you would prefer continue virtual?
What? No, I would in person.
Oh, okay.
In person. I just think it's nice. I think Eric said, somebody touched on this, maybe it was Jeannie. I just think it's nice to be able to have those conversations and to get to meet people in person. So, but whatever the board is comfortable with, I just want to let you know. Yeah, I like meetings in person. So But whatever works for everyone is fine for me.
Yeah, I'm comfortable in person as well, but I'd be comfortable if we also had a hybrid version to allow everybody to participate and give people that option.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will tentatively look then to move us to face for the June meeting, unless something substantially changes public health wise, in which case we'll go with the virtual meeting that's still provided for, in which we've all come to know and love.
What is will a hybrid option be available in June?
And a hybrid option will be available in June.
Okay.
I will get that set up. It will probably be more, you know, we have, with the technology that we have in place, we're going to have a really nice setup that we're going to be able to do. And I'm really sorry, Anna, for not giving you a chance to really talk about how amazing that is. But it is going to be amazing. It might not be there to be amazing at the June meeting, as Anna noted, but it will definitely be afterwards. And we will have something available as a digital option in June.
Will the children's activity room be available for the public in June? Because that's a larger room, I think.
Children's activity room is smaller.
It is smaller?
Yep.
Than the Spruth room. Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Okay.
The Spruth room is the bigger one. The Spruth room is capacity 50. Children's activity is capacity 25 or 30, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So really what it comes down to is right now, those areas are primarily storage for a lot of items, because we moved a lot of stuff down there to facilitate social distancing, as well as things that when it seemed like it was very important to, you know, sanitize everything.
Mhm.
You know, anything that we weren't sure how we were going to be able to disinfect, we moved down there. You know, and not needing to disinfect everything anymore, as well as the reduced mandates. You know, we're in the process of moving stuff gradually out, and that looks to be a process that'll be well underway by the middle of June.
Good.
Okay. So I think that covers that topic. And then that will move us on to old business, where I do have some exciting news. This is an update for the capital project. So I am very excited to report that the foundation, the Lake Bluff Library Foundation, received a $50,000 donation this
Wow.
past month, specifically for turning the former adult computer room into a quiet reading/meeting space as provided for in the renovation and expansion plan. The donor being none other than our former trustee, Cal Stroh. So
Exciting. That's
Nice.
great.
the foundation, with the help of staff members Jillian and Martha, put together a mini prospectus and pitched to Cal to sponsor that space. So because it's a standalone project, a defined project, it's anticipated that we'll be able to do the work on that sometime in the next year as part of the first phase of the renovation. The donation does include naming rights, so it will be the Carol S. and Alfred Stroh Reading Room.
Oh, that's so
So
great.
it's
Fantastic.
very
Yeah.
exciting.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Kudos
Kathy,
to
did you
Jillian
know
and
about
Martha
that?
for putting that together.
Yeah.
We have some fantastic graphic design capabilities in-house. I can't say enough about the work that they did on that. It was beautifully done.
Great.
So moving forward apace here as the campaign gets going again after all of the fun that we've had with COVID this past year. So that's very exciting, and I'm thrilled to be able to report that. I do have some other news to report regarding the campaign, which is that as we got to as we're in the process here of getting the fundraising campaign off the ground again, I did receive the resignation of our existing development coordinator that we had hired, Kathy Siebert. That was a position that was created in agreement between the Library Foundation and the library. It's a person that's part of the library's staff, but the salary is paid for by the foundation. John Heinzelman, unfortunately, John couldn't be here with us tonight, has some connections, him being a retired fundraising professional. So he knows folks and put us in touch with somebody who seems to be an excellent candidate for filling that position. And I had very much hoped to have big news that this person, who is a community member who has a ton of fundraising experience and who we had the chance to meet earlier this week, I had hoped to be able to report that they had agreed to join us, but I unfortunately have been playing phone tag with them. So while I can report that they still seem very interested, they have not yet officially joined us, but it does look like we should be able to get somebody on board who has a lot of really good experience that should help, you know, continue to build on the momentum that we've got here.
Yeah, fingers crossed, everybody.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
She seems like this would be a real godsend if we can bring her on board. So, as Kathy said, fingers crossed. So those are my campaign updates as far as what we've got right now. Very excited that we're able to start making some progress again with what is, you know, really been something that we just wanted to keep viable over the past year when it was interrupted. So jumping forward to the director's report. So one item certainly of note over the last day or two, and I had sent out an email to the full board about this this afternoon, was that following the guidance from the CDC, the update last Friday, as well as the state of Illinois on Monday making the decision to officially update its policy on masks to follow the CDC guidance. The library has followed in those steps, and we've changed our policy and procedure to provide for patrons coming in. If they're vaccinated, they can go without a mask. We are asking folks to continue to be respectful of everyone and socially distance where possible. And just so that we don't create a situation where we have patrons potentially questioning who has been vaccinated and who hasn't at the main desk, because some staff, you know, might want to, you know, go without a mask if, you know, we make it an option at the main desk. You know, others, you know, might be vaccinated and they might want to just continue to wear the mask as a comfort thing. You know, I know for some staff that they've indicated that that would definitely be the case. So, so that we don't create any kind of a weird dynamic at the main desk, we're just going to have staff, when they're working with the public, continue to mask. And then in the staff workroom, for those staff that have been vaccinated, they have the option to not wear a mask. So that's where we're at. This honestly seems to have been one of the more fraught rollouts throughout this whole thing, in terms of the discussion in the area and amongst libraries and other entities. I don't know. I would have hoped that things would be getting easier in terms of the steps that we would be needing to take at this point, but you know, at least we're moving towards the goal line and hopefully continuing to get this wound down and wrapped up. So that's an update as far as where we are there. As always, if you have any questions on the details there, please feel free to ask me at any point. I do
One
have an
concern I
update.
have, Eric, this isn't going to put
Fire
the
away.
staff in a position where they're going to have to ask patrons whether they've been vaccinated or not, right? The patron
Correct.
can elect to wear a mask, and we'll presume they're on the honor system.
Yep.
Okay.
Both the CDC and the state of Illinois have made clear in their guidance that, you know, that is, yeah, it's an honor system thing.
Okay.
And that's the guidance that we're following. There's a lot there that I'm not really sure how to feel about.
All right.
But throughout all of this, we've very much tried as much as possible to hew to the guidance that's been provided by the CDC and the state. So sticking with it. But no, that is not a situation we would put staff in, trying to screen people. That wouldn't be, even if we tried, besides it being a bad situation, I don't even think it would be feasible to manage to do that. It would just be too much effort and too much time for us to be able to pull off. I do have an update on the parking lot project, which is moving forward. I wasn't able to get Jeff Hansen, get a hold of him for a specific number for the lot. Well, more specific than $21,000. I am happy to report that Lindy's been meeting very regularly with Jeff, though, and that the electricians were out today. So the bollard is down and the electric is pulled out. So that's taken care of, which is good because the project is going to be starting next week. So it might not be right away on Monday, but pretty soon thereafter, the process of removing the old lot should be underway. It sounds like we might have some time, that they might be doing a sweep of removal, and then we might have some time where we have just a gravel lot. Yay. But then they'll sweep back through within no later than a few weeks after removing the lot and put the new one in place. And it will be expanded and beautiful.
Any chance of getting,
I'm sorry.
any chance of getting the lot across the street available for on a temporary renovation plan?
I can check. I can see if I can get a hold of the owners there. My understanding is that since the owners of the lot had moved out of the community, that there kind of got to be a communications divide there between the village and the owners. But I can ask. I've still got their email information. I'm sure they still use those accounts, so can't hurt.
Yeah,
I think they're less keen. The owners of that lot had been residents of the community who were just a few blocks, just a couple blocks away. So it was very easy for them to keep an eye on that lot. And I think that they were a lot more comfortable making that lot available when they were right next door. But, you know, maybe they will. I'll ask. Matt, I interrupted, sorry.
Well, I think Janie had a question.
I was just wondering if the tree's out yet.
The maple, yes, is gone. Yep, Kanukin came out and removed that for us.
Good old Bob. So maybe we could have arranged something for temporary parking at the Metro, or ask Lake Bluff Finest not to ticket for a week.
Yeah, there is unlimited on-street parking within a block or two of the library because we're almost into residential district. Parking is always available at Artesian Park, and yeah, for all public employees, the Metro lot is always available as well. So the village always has that available to us as an option because we're on the other end of the downtown from the Metro. I know particularly for staff that works late at night, that's not always an appealing option because it can be kind of a long walk in through some dark spaces.
Eric, you mentioned, sorry, Matt.
Yeah, the other thing I just want to bring up quickly, Eric, and this is more of an aside, but since the last meeting I attended, which would have been 2 months ago, I've gone down the street connecting Center and Scranton, heading west to east, and twice someone has come flying out of that lot straight across the street into the library parking lot. And I almost got hit both times. I was incredulous. And then I believe Bonk or Prairie or one of those is going to take that old ATM drive-through behind the bike shop and turn that. So I'm concerned about additional traffic, and if you share those concerns, if that's incorporated, or there's anything we can do with the surfacing.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think there was a van that zipped through within the last week there and just about knocked me off my feet in that back lot. Never been something that I've been very thrilled about, and I'm not really sure how we get people to stop doing it. We've got signage up that, you know, they're not supposed to be driving back there, but there's some folks that persist in doing it anyway. I am
Can we
aware
put in
that
one of those big oil pan destroying speed bumps.
there we go. That would definitely get people to slow down.
Right.
But yeah, I am a little concerned that the traffic might increase once there is an entity that's making use of that drive-through again.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. You know, I suppose at some point, you know, if it's affordable, that the speed bump at least would get people to slow down to a reasonable, not in danger of, you know, hitting anybody in the parking lot sort of speed. But really, it would be nice if folks wouldn't swing back there. I think it happens primarily because, of course, because Oak is one way, so you can't take a left turn. They're only a right turn coming out of that old bank lot. So people zip through the library lot so that they can turn onto Scranton.
People are cutting across Oak to go into the library lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's it had kind of slowed down and now it seems to be picking up again.
Okay, so Eric and I are meeting with the new village president and administrator, I think tomorrow. So maybe we need to add that to our little list, because they may not be aware.
Maybe.
It sounds like if more than one person are picking up on this, I think it's a problem.
Yeah.
And you know,
It's
especially
certainly
when they're
another
paved and,
it's certainly another point to add to the list of reasons why that doesn't make a great public lot.
Yeah.
Well, and I think maybe the Building and Grounds Committee can take this up. I don't know if we've ever looked at putting in an arm that's activated with a swipe card so that only people who have a card can swipe. The arm opens and you drive into the parking lot behind the building.
Yeah.
While the parking lot is torn up, might be the time to consider if there's any electric or anything that needs to be run to operate an arm.
Very true.
Having been involved with the library on Scranton Avenue for quite some time, that it sounds very non-downtown Lake Bluff-ish.
Point well made.
Doesn't mean it's not a great idea and we shouldn't look into it, but somehow.
Well, as a matter of fact, B&G just recently sort of quelled the zeal to use the library parking lot in the evenings for, you know, for people visiting the restaurants and stuff.
The village perpetually has a dream that that little lot that we have behind the library could become a public parking lot for the downtown area. Something that the Building and Grounds Committee and the Library Board in general have always been very skeptical of. There's a lot of challenges that would go with making that a public lot. It's a narrow little space that offers plenty of challenges just for the staff using it.
I think the point is if you want to control access to the lot, there may be ways to do it that maybe will more comply with the look, feel, sentiments of the village. So I think we should think about it.
You know, I think it's definitely a good idea, and I think we should definitely discuss the ARM idea. I look forward to discussing that with the Building and Grounds. Kathy, you're probably right that I'm virtually certain that they would insist that we go through the ABR on that.
I just thought of that.
Yeah.
They didn't like our flag.
That would not be.
I don't think they like our arm at all. But I don't. The speed bump isn't a bad idea at all.
Yeah.
That'd definitely be a deterrent.
Yeah.
And maybe multiple speed bumps to really make it.
Yeah, because there's a sharp turn in there.
Yeah.
That is not designed for people to be flying through there.
Yeah, and that's really where it gets to be for staff and for patrons can be the most dangerous point of that. I mean, it's dangerous enough when people just are zipping across Oak Avenue there, but if they're still going, and often they are pretty fast when they hit that corner, that's there can often be patrons and members of the staff that are on that sidewalk there when the vehicle comes around the corner, and that can be a bit scary.
Well, Eric,
So
let's be
yeah,
sure to
we'll
bring this up.
discuss it at the building and grounds.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
not
also
going to get it cleared up
tomorrow
tonight.
with our administrators.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, I do want to draw attention to the statistics report, which Anna has once again done a wonderful job with. Closing out the delightful fiscal year of 2020-2021 on a high note with our highest circulation totals monthly here this past April, which is a good thing to be on an upward swing. We did have a fairly modest number of 56,782 checkouts and renewals total this past year. Usually, over the past 10 years, we've been averaging 100 to 110,000 for that number instead. So understandably, we're a bit down. I don't think anyone's surprised by that. I would point out, though, that it is a measure of how far that the library has come, that prior to about 2005, 2006, we really only averaged about 60,000 checkouts a year. That was our normal average, being open all the time. And that's the number that we managed when we had this bizarre, struggling to provide access for a lot of our collections throughout much of the year, fiscal year. So, I do think that number as well is a testament to how far the library has grown in the last 15 years in terms
What's
of
the breakout
collections
look
and
like
services.
on the checkouts between e-periodicals and physical?
Jumping over to Anna's report here. Let me share over to the statistics report.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the breakout by month for the past year. So you can see with the 3 columns on the left, the adult circ, teen circ, and juvenile circ, those are all physical collections. And then the next column over is the digital items. The miscellaneous is chiefly things like the bags and other odds and ends collections.
So you said 57,000 was the total.
Yep,
so about
57,000
24,000 was digital. If I look, it was about 2 a month roughly. Yeah.
So you can see the good steady digital circulation throughout, and then a lot of months here where it was just kind of up and down with the physical circulation. And certainly, the May numbers there, that would have been, a few odds and ends, people renewing things when they didn't even need to renew them, and then end of June, very end of June was right when we got the curbside service going again.
Mm. And Anna's jumped off, but so 24 out of 57, you're what, a little under half, 40%. Do you know how that compares historically, like the penetration of digital circ versus physical?
Proportionally, we had a lot higher digital making up. I believe that the digital circulation numbers reflect in the neighborhood of a 10 to 15% increase, though I would have to double check on that.
Okay.
But proportionately, they made up a much higher amount of the circulation, which, given that the access to the physical collections was not what it usually is what I would expect.
Yep. Well, still to get what 55, 60% of our circulation when we basically weren't open for a year, I think is a testament.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was testament to a lot of hard work, and
Mhm.
staff deserves credit for that.
Kudos.
Okay. Also listed on the agenda here, and since I've already got this shared over, I am going to scroll up. I want to draw attention, in addition to the fabulous work that Anna does, that April is our beyond April being our busiest month, that starting at the June meeting, Anna is going to be providing some special monthly stats reports. The first one in June is going to be a report on programming, breaking out with some additional analysis, the programming statistics. Then there'll be one in October on non-circulation services, such as the seed library, passports, and others. And December, right now is penciled in website analysis, but I've been discussing with Anna that we might perhaps do that one as a deep dive into our collection statistics, since that would probably be, as we're getting started on the budget process, a more relevant statistical analysis for that particular month. So that's what we've got penciled in right now. If you have any ideas as far as particular statistical analyses that you might like to see, whether it's running a particular type of analysis or just looking at a particular area in the statistics, please absolutely pass that pass that along, so that we can then get that on the calendar as one of the special deep dives that we're going to start having here in our statistics reports each month.
Does this include the web analytics as well?
The web analytics right now is penciled in for December, but we might move that to February or March. Are you wondering about the current report?
Well, as
It
part
includes
of
that?
well, just along with with an eye towards the technology committee, when she first had broached this offering, which I think is great, we had discussed looking at site sections of the website, just to see where our traffic was engaging with the site and what components of the site they were using.
Yeah, and the deep dive that she's planning to do on the website analysis that's what that'll be.
Okay.
So that's on tap as one of the ones that we're definitely going to do.
Okay. Again, I'll reiterate, if she'd like any help there, I'd be keen to work with her on that.
I will pass that along.
One statistic you probably guess I'd like to see or make a request for is I'd like to see what our digital circ has looked like, historical, and then obviously moving forward, so we can see if this is a systemic or temporary blip.
Sounds good. I will pass that along.
I'm sure I'll have more. Thank you.
And feel free to pass on to Anna any other requests that you might have as far as numbers that we can run.
Would you like me to email her, Eric, or happy to do that?
I could send her an email.
Okay,
I have to catch up with her after the meeting tonight.
I want to push that on you. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, and that takes us through all the sundry information that I have for the director's report. So unless there's anything that anyone else has to raise as a question or concern or an item of business, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn.
Motion from Bill, second.
Second.
Second from Bonnie.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any
Who-
opposed?
second?
I did, Janie. It was
Bonnie.
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 Carries unanimously, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you,
Right.
Eric.
Thank you all.
Good
All right,
meeting,
thanks
everyone.
very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody, stay well.
Have a good night.
Bye.